Welcome back to JH Diesel. So we are back on our 78 Chevy project, which we are putting the 78 Chevy cab and bed on the 2000 Cummins frame, which was our old burnout truck for a little bit. So I'm gonna be getting this thing set up. Now that we've got the body completely mounted, it is solid mounted on there. We did find that the rear of the bed, the frame is gonna have to be definitely straightened. It's tweaked up and it's also tweaked over. So we're gonna be doing that. And then at the same time, when we have the bed off and everything, the body is gonna be coming off and we're gonna be taking the engine and we're gonna be sliding it back. So this is kind of gonna be our biggest challenge yet, to get the engine to sit right, because we've already mocked it up. We know about where it needs to be, but it needs to come back about 5.5 inches. So we have enough room for a radiator, intercooler up front, and still have enough room to work on the engine when the cab is on it. So that's kind of our next thing right now. We're gonna be cutting the motor mounts off, sliding everything back, and we got our automatic transmission. We're gonna get the manual transmission out, and we're gonna get our manual or automatic transmission installed, so that thing should be ready to go. So guys, that's what we're gonna be doing today. Get the engine slid back, and probably getting the frame cleaned up and getting everything just about ready to put back together for final assembly. And then we can hook all of our other stuff up, power steering lines, steering shaft, all that kind of stuff. So should be a good episode today. A lot to learn on this. Gonna be a lot of cutting and welding, so it should be pretty cool. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching the JH Diesel channel. Also, thank you so much for the merch purchases right now until they're gone. CleavesMcFarland.com. All your JH merch qualifies you to be entered to win a Traxxas RC car. We got some UDRs, some X-Maxes, some XRTs, and some sledges there, all set up for you guys. Check it out. Thank you so much for the support.
Let's see if you can kill this thing now, huh?
I didn't kill this one. This one's still fine. Dude. You can't beat this one. It's so different driving this thing.
I honestly really like these. I want to get one of these. I like them.
So now that we have the body lifted off of it and the bed off of it, what we're gonna do is we're getting ready to pull the transmission out so I can go with the auto one. This guy needs the manual one. We're gonna swap them. So before I go doing that, we're gonna set up an angle finder here. 6.1 degrees, basically 6 degrees. 6 degrees back, it's what the engine's sitting. So we know that, so when we move it back, as long as we have it at our 6 degrees, there shouldn't be any kind of issue at all. And as I said before, I think we're gonna maybe build a new cross member for it, because those cross members are kind of a pain in the ass. So they're not bad, but they can be a pain sometimes. I think it's a little overkill. So
Definitely gonna need to change the cross member, because trans is gonna come back 5 inches. So
it is. My thing was, if we kept the manual, look at these slots are literally, I bet they're close. If you kept the manual. I think those back slots are for an auto. I'm not sure, but I believe the automatic transmission is longer than the manual transmission. We won't know until we get it and bolt it in place. But either way, I think we're on our way here. So transmission's about to come out, and trench case's gonna come off the trans, drive shaft, all that stuff, and we'll get this thing swapped out with our other one.
I'm gonna go ahead and pick the motor up and slide it back out of the way where I can cut the motor mounts off. And once I get the motor mounts cut off, I'll bolt the motor mounts back onto the frame, slide it back to 5 inches, weld them back in place.
I feel like we were here not too long ago pulling this thing apart. Anyways, so basically at this point, we know what degree the engine is going to be at, which we're going to build a new transmission cross members, I keep saying. So now it's basically getting these motor mounts where they need to be. The driver's side, hopefully what we're probably going to do is cut this top piece off right here so it's flush, and basically just set this thing back. We're going to go a total of 5 inches back. So same on that side, same deal. Cut that off, go a total of 5 inches back. May have to modify them just a hair, but for the most part, we'll get all the measurements we need and then just slide those things right back, re-weld them to the frame. No reason to build new mounts and brackets and everything. I think we can reuse these. I don't think there's a problem with that. And I don't think we're gonna run into an issue with the frame back here. I think we're gonna stop. I think it's probably gonna be, we'll mark it all out, but right there.
5 inches.
Yeah, so should be fine. It shouldn't affect us too much. So we'll get this thing slid back and get it ready to go back in. And at that point, once that's welded in there and we know the motor sits in there right, we'll pull everything back apart, finish weld everything that's already been welded on, bed mounts, cab mounts, the whole nine, finish weld everything, get the frame pressure washed, get it painted, and hopefully make it look pretty clean so when it goes back together, it doesn't look like a hunk of crap.
So on the frame, you can see I've marked some points of reference. That's from here to here, that's 5 inches. That's from here to up here, that's 5 inches. And down here to here, because this motor mount's, this motor mount's not all the same, just one single piece. So that gives me all my points of reference. This line I made right here is level to the bottom of that bolt. And this 6.6 is the degree that the top of these two, where the motor mount bolt slides in, that's the degree that motor mount needs to be on. So I'm gonna take a torch now, cut it all out. That's why I cleaned the frame to where I can mark everything out and I don't have to clean it after I'm done. Now we'll go ahead and get that motor mount cut out. I did the same thing on the other motor mount. I marked it out the same way. We'll cut it out and we'll slide them back. We'll know right where they go. The reason I chiseled it is because you see it ain't cut any holes in the frame, so I figured it'd be better to put a little chisel work on it than to have to weld the frame back up. So everything looks good with that. Now I can just clean that up. That motor mount, it's bent a little bit, and bend it back straight, no big deal, and put it back on. I'm gonna start getting this thing leveled up, getting everything set into place where it needs to be, and then I'm gonna get them tacked into place. And you can see I got a mark here, I got a mark here, I got a mark here. So I'm pretty much right on where I want to be. And then this, I've got a degree set right here, 2.5 or 5.2. I'm a little off that. I've also got that line there, which is going to be the bottom of my center bolt. So I need to come up, and the top needs to go forward. 5.2, that is right where I want to be, right there. We'll go ahead and tack that in place so we can turn the welder on. I guess it's time to see if what I did worked or if I failed miserably. We got the motor right here. I'm gonna set the motor in the frame. coming down slowly now. So it fits. I got the AC bracket is hitting right there. So it's kind of pushing the motor that way, which is making the other side motor mount not want to go in straight. You see it's kind of opened up right there on that side. But we're not going to run AC on it anyways. So I pretty much can see what I wanted to see. I know that I need to trim that off. And then I think this thing will be just fine. It will sit in there no problem. We're close on that. We got clearance. I was worried about that too. Now it's just going to depend on what way we clock that, depending on where we decide to run the intercooler tubes. It'll probably go straight down along the back side of that cross mount or that shock mount. But it does fit. It sits back in there. So now we can pull the motor back out, weld the motor mounts up, move on to the next step.
Motor mounts are tacked in place. Engine's already been set in to check for clearances and everything. It's all good as of right now. And then so basically at this point, it's time to finish weld everything. We're gonna finish weld all the bed mounts. We'll get all the old bed mounts cut off the frame, finish cleaning up the frame for the old cab mounts, finish weld the other cab mounts. Everything is about to get finished welded on the frame. I will have the auto trans here probably tomorrow. So we'll either figure out what we're gonna do with our cross member for the auto trans once everything's fully welded, and then move on with our assembly process. The goal after that will be to push the frame out, wire wheel it, sand it down, pressure wash it, whatever, and do a good little paint job on it. And then we jump to the cab, and we're gonna try to prevent the cab from rotting any more than it already has, and hopefully be able to do that. So we'll get the cab all cleaned up and painted also. So that is the plan as of right now. We'll get these things fully welded in and get this frame set up and ready. All right, guys, so we've got our new front cross member welded in there. That thing is in. The engine is sitting in place. It's got its 6-degree back set right now. About to put the transmission in place, and then we can start building our transmission cross member. As soon as the trans cross member is done, everything else has been welded out. So as soon as the trans cross member is in, we're gonna roll this thing out and get her prepped up, painted, back in the shop, and then do final assembly. So pretty excited, guys. It's coming together pretty nice.
So it turns out that the cross member actually fit. I had to notch this a little bit for the trans mount. No big deal. I'm gonna use the stock cross member. It fits, it goes in the frame good. There's no problems with it. And it doesn't hit the drive shaft, but in the future, it may hit the drive shaft. So I'm gonna go ahead and notch this out. So I'm gonna cut it, and then once I get it cut, this is what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna set this in here, and I'll take you guys along for that. But for right now, I'm just gonna cut it out, and then I'll come back and bring you guys back in and get you up to speed on what's going on.
Well, we finally acquired our automatic transmission. We got that thing mounted in there yesterday, and to our massive surprise, the cross member actually will work just fine. He had to notch out a little piece in the back, but literally like it's almost perfect. So what we did do though, Justin went ahead and cut the cross member apart today, because now that this thing, normally your mount would probably be right here for a 4-wheel drive, but because the way this one's set up, we went ahead and had to put the obviously the automatic, it's a little bit further back because we had to move back 5 inches. So basically he made this and redid the cross member, so now our drive shaft, we have plenty of clearance. So if we want to lift this thing more or whatever, it did clear, but it was very close. So if the suspension drooped or anything like that, we were worried about the drive shaft hitting it in the front. So at this point, we've got our transmission bolted in, engine bolted in, literally got to use the cross member. We didn't have to build one, which saved us a ton of time, which is freaking awesome. Just use the factory cross member. Engine sitting at the perfect degree mark, 6 degrees back is what it was sitting at before. So pretty freaking awesome. We were able to work all that out and get the cross member in. Now we're basically at this point, engine's about to get pulled back out of this thing, transmission's about to get pulled back out of this thing, and it's time to start cleaning up the frame and getting that stuff situated. So one step closer, and then we're gonna spray the bottom of the cab. We're gonna osmose it, just kind of get it all to stop rusting, hopefully prevent as much as we can. But for right now, she's in. Motor mounts look like they're factory. Well, they are factory mounts, just been moved. All of our cab mounts done. Cab mounts done. We have new cab bushings. We're just waiting on them from LMC. We ordered some door hinges, some other stuff. So we got quite a bit of stuff coming in here, and it's just not here yet. But bed mounts, we're good. Got to re-drill these once the frame gets straightened. We're not going to do it ourselves. I talked to John over there at the body shop, and he said he is going to help us out, and we'll get over there, get this in on the frame machine and make it right. But so far so good. About to pull it all back apart and hope for the best. So hopefully everything works out. I got to have the 2 dry shafts, front one lengthened, rear one shortened, which I'm going to have that done. So the transmission's going to be fully built. We got a full manual valve body from Fire Punk Diesel going in it with the ratchet shifter. So we're waiting on a couple small things for the transmission. That's getting ready to get built, and it should be on the way. Like basically at this point, pulling everything back apart and getting the frame stripped, getting it painted. And then once we paint the frame and everything, we'll get the cab painted, get everything done there at the bottom, and quit, like I said, hopefully prevent from rusting. And we will get this engine back in for the final assembly and get this thing hopefully running sometime next week. We do got to fix a couple leaks on the engine. Not a big deal. We're going to do that once the motor goes back in the frame. So fire me up. We are on the way, guys. This is just, Justin's been hustling on this thing. Literally got about a week's worth of work into it, and about 5 days or so, which been pretty consistent with it, and we want to stay that way. So we are fortunate to be able to get it done and get it done quickly, because we want to have this thing on the road and ripping. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching the JH Diesel channel. We will see you next time.